بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear viewers, welcome back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Have you ever been in a crisis? Have you ever faced a crisis? I'm sure you have. We all have. It's part of life. Everyone faces a crisis. And the thing about a crisis is it's not someone else who defines that it's a crisis, but it's what's inside you that defines what a crisis is. And you see, a crisis is something you perceive. A crisis occurs when someone perceives or experiences an event or situation as intolerable. They're unable to tolerate, they're unable to handle it, that its demands exceed their current resources or their coping mechanisms. They're unable to cope with a certain event or an incident, something that has happened that they feel helpless, that I'm unable to cope with this. I can't handle this. I can't do this. And the event or the situation may be insignificant to the people around you or around that person, but and they might even dismiss it as, what's wrong with you? Get a hold of yourself. It's not a big deal. Relax, chill out. You're freaking out. Stop freaking out. They might say these sort of things. But that seemingly small incident is actually the last straw among multiple stressors on the person's mind. That person who's going through it, for them, it's a crisis. And it's not that one incident. It's not that one isolated incident or event that suddenly becomes something that they feel helpless and out of control. But it's something that's been building up. There are multiple things stressing this person out, multiple stressors, multiple issues that they're dealing with. And then this becomes that last straw. It pushes them to the end of their line, and they feel that they have lost control. Now they can't control the situation anymore. In other words, the presence of a risk of foreseeable harm. There's this presence of that there's a risk that I will be harmed, whether immediately or in the near future. And that harm, the risk or the fear of that harm causes them to react and respond in a way that they are unable to handle it. And when this happens, the people around them, those who love them, those who care for them, they need to assist them. So the person needs assistance and they need support in order to regain control and stabilize, come back to a stable situation. And if we have children, especially in the teenagers, then please understand that they will be going through this multiple times. And what they deem as a crisis, and if you dismiss it, they have nowhere else to go, or they might go to the wrong people or the wrong coping mechanisms and in fact be harmed even more. So you have to be there for them. We spoke about this earlier and we were continuing. We kind of broke off on our series, but crisis intervention is a parent's and a mentor's and a teacher's responsibility, and it's their duty as the adult who cares for these students, for these children. And it's not only for youngsters or for teenagers, it's for anyone around us. Elders, they may even be our parents that might be facing a crisis, and then we need to be the ones that give them that support and that assistance in order for them to stabilize, in order for them to regain control. So in this video, we will talk about what are some of the indicators. How can you tell that if this person is now kind of losing control of the situation and panicking, or their response mechanism is showing that help, I need help, I can't cope with this. Sometimes it's very obvious. They might just burst into the house and they're hyperventilating and yoga, this is what happened. Obviously they're facing a crisis. But sometimes the indicators are a lot more subtle. So we have to understand, we have to pick that up so that we can intervene and help. And inshallah, in the next video, we will tell you about how you can intervene and help. What are some of the steps you can take? Right now, let's find out what are some of the indicators. Now, again, don't evaluate a crisis by the final trigger event. Oh, why are you freaking out about something so small? No, that's the worst thing you can do. But what reaction or response is the person showing? See, because what's on that might be very insignificant to you, but to them it's the end of the world. It's a very difficult situation. They can't cope with it. So it's not you or your perception that is important right now. It's their perception. So you have to respect their perception. It might be a little child, 2-3-year-old child, and suddenly gets scared in a dark room and comes running out and crying, and you're like, "Kya ho gaya? Kyun ro rahi ho?" And you kind of dismiss it. But to them, they might have perceived some sort of evil being or demon trying to attack them, and you're just you're just dismissing it. So that leads them to question their own selves, and that's not a healthy thing. So let's, for a little child, something like that, or forget something, a dark room, a stranger might walk into the house, and that's enough to for the child to not be able to handle. So let's respect the person's perception in order to then intervene and help them understand. And once you go through the 6-step process, then they will understand, oh, this is not a big deal, I can handle this. But right now they can't handle it. So let's see, what are some of these triggers? They may be physical responses, they may be mental, emotional, or behavioral. So let's go through some of them. Some of the physical responses are nausea or upset stomach, vomiting, etc. They might be sweating, they might be shaking, trembling, they might have chills, they might get diarrhea, dizziness, they might be losing sleep, or sleeping a lot. They don't want to get up. They don't want to face the situation. Maybe that's headaches, rapid breathing, like I said, hyperventilation. So these are signs of a crisis. They might not want to talk to you about it. They might not want to disclose. They might feel embarrassed even that, people will just say, why are you freaking about something so small? So sometimes that is a reason people don't open up either. Even your own children don't open up. That, my parents might say, or whoever else, my teacher might say, okay, why are you worrying so much about this? And dismiss it or not give it its due importance. So they're embarrassed at times. So they'll just say, oh no, I'm just sick. I had something to eat, which is just causing this, my stomach's upset. But really, it's their hormone mechanism that's causing that. Some of the mental signs are racing thoughts, or maybe slow to respond. They're kind of lost. You might say, Amna, are you okay? What? So they're not there. They're kind of lost, or their thoughts are slow. They can't process what you're saying. Could you repeat that? I really didn't understand. Wait, I didn't get your question. Even though the question was very simple. Amna, did you have dinner? So you're like, wait, what did you ask? I'm sorry. Something like that. Fearful thoughts, disorientation, right? Memory problems, blaming oneself or blaming others, illogical thinking, flashbacks, poor judgment, poor concentration, or thoughts to harm yourself. Okay, emotional, anxiety, nervousness, guilt. They might feel guilt. They might have done something and now they feel guilty about it. Fear. They're afraid someone might harm them. Grief or denial. Someone's death maybe. Some classmate who's in the hospital. Depression or sadness. Isolation or loneliness. They want to stay alone. They want to talk to anyone. Anger or irritability. Stop it. Don't talk to me. Just leave me alone. They're getting irritable. Hopelessness or helplessness. Numbness. They're not reacting at all. They're inert. They're just like, they're not responding to anything. Behavioral. They might have crying spells. They can't stop crying. Changes in activity level. They might get either hyperactive or they might slow down too much. Withdrawal from others. Same thing. Isolation. They might be using substances that they shouldn't be using, substance abuse, taking medication when the painkillers or something. They might be easily startled, jumpy, right? Suddenly they might be having conflicts and fights with others. They're not taking care of themselves, their hygiene, etc. Changes in social patterns, or changes in productivity. They were a very hardworking student, suddenly they're not taking interest in anything. So all of these and others are indicators that they're facing a crisis. If you see your students or your children or other people around you that you care about and you see these changes, so do think of intervening and helping them in their crisis. Inshallah, in our next video, we'll talk about how you can help them in very easy ways. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.